Welcome to We Digress with Joy and Jess. Join hosts and longtime friends Joy Simpson and Jess Perry as they tackle the stuff of life the only way they know how, with honesty, faith, and humor. This is We Digress with Joy and Jess. Hey everyone! Welcome to the season finale of We Digress with Joy and Jess. I am Jess.
I tickled myself, and I'm Joy.
You know, we've done this for how long now? You think we know?
You think we would, but it's the simple things in life.
Is this going to be our 100th episode? Hold on.
Is it?
It might be. I'm going to do some quick calculations. Uno momentito.
That would be so cool. I should have had on a 100 shirt. I don't think it is. I think
it's like 60. I think we're up to like 60. Okay. But what's your shirt say?
Okay. Oh, my shirt says, Auntie is my name and spoiling is my game.
Yes.
I got this during the pandemic, actually, because I saw it on like Etsy randomly. And we were going to have like a little small birthday party for Amora at my Aunt Chris's house. Mm-hmm. And that's why I bought this shirt. And her mom was like, "You're ridiculous." And the boys were like, "You do spoil us, so that makes sense." So I wore this in honor of my nieces and nephews today.
Yay.
It's Christmas time, so spoiling is about to go down.
Spoiling? I have already started buying gifts for my nephew for Christmas. He is not yet a year old.
His first one.
His first Christmas. He just had his first Thanksgiving. He is the cutest. He's starting to very angrily get up and walk. He doesn't like that, like they're trying to encourage him to walk. It's hysterical. But he is the cutest and I love him, and I've been buying new gifts for him.
Babies are the most hilarious thing in the world. Like, honestly, if you're having a bad day, just go look up babies of TikToks or videos and YouTubes of babies doing random things. It's hilarious. Like, I was telling my mom yesterday, I find the videos of the little girls, the little toddler girls, and the moms are like, "I finally found out who stole my husband." Like, and it's him like playing tea party with this kid, and she's like sitting there with her tutu looking at him. And there was another video we saw yesterday. It was this little baby, like maybe like 4 months old, maybe. She's like, her daddy's kissing all on her face, and she's giggling. Her mom says something. She looks at her mom like, "Why are you interrupting my daddy time? Like, go away." It was just so cute. Adorable. Babies make me laugh. And when they fall, it's funny because then they get shocked like, do I get up? Do I cry? Do I?
Right.
What do I do? Especially when they fall flat on their butt and they have like the puffy diaper on. So it has like a little bounce back. It's just funny.
Too funny. So this is not our 100th episode.
It's not. Okay.
Like 50. So
okay. So we have 50 more to go.
Yeah,
we can get 50 done in the next season. I mean, this is our season finale for the season, and we are definitely looking forward to coming back in the new year with some great conversations, maybe some even more wonderful guests and different things like that. But it's been a blast doing this show. Like it's literally one of the things I look forward to, because we just kind of talk things out and figure things out and share our hearts with just, people we don't know who's listening, who's watching, whatever. But it's a joy of my life. It really is. It's one piece that brings me a nice amount of joy and happiness. And I do enjoy getting the feedback that we do from some people on our Facebook or on, our YouTube, or text messages I get from people who have watched. Or I'll go to church on Sunday mornings and Miss Veronica will be like, "Oh, you and Jessica are so funny. I watched the whole episode on Friday," like the whole, thing. So it's always wonderful, It's not about reaching the masses. It's about reaching even just the one person. If we do something that brightens your day, changes your perspective, gives you deeper understanding of God and all of that, then that makes us happy. Not to be so deep at the beginning of the show. It's supposed to be light. Bring it back, Joy. Today. I know, right?
In your since the last time we recorded, since our last episode, you have had a birthday Happy birthday.
I did. Thank you.
Yes.
I did. I am now 41.
I know. So now you're like extra wise.
Am I?
I mean, theoretically.
Okay. Theoretically, yes, I am. It's funny because somebody asked me the other day, like, do you feel different? I was like, it just happened yesterday. Like, I still feel like me. Like, it's been a very low key week. And I think, as hype as I always am about my birthday, has been so much going on that it took me a little longer to get excited this year. But I will accept that I'm getting a little wiser and I'm getting a little, a little wiser, a little stronger, a little braver, in these 40s. I'm still waiting, like, Holy Spirit activate a husband, but that would be really great. But other than that, I might get a little wiser in this next year. It just started. We'll see. But see, as we are recording this, someone else will be having a very wonderful birthday coming up next week. And she will be the big 40. So she is joining the 40s club.
Yes, I am. I am going to be joining the 40s club.
I'm so excited for her. Unfortunately, I am not going to be able to be with her. Originally, I had planned to, but we kind of made a collective decision that life is life right now. But some of our other friends are going to be there, and I'm excited. And I'll get to Georgia eventually, guys. I'll get there.
Yep. Well, you know what? It's
God's timing.
Right now, so that's why you're just staying warmer. Because I am freezing.
Well, it's raining in Southern California today, so it's kind of dark and nasty looking.
It's a beautiful day, but it is straight up.
It's quite cold.
It's cold. Well, I mean, in 50 degrees, it's not cold. Like, I know people who would be wearing shorts in 50-degree weather, but for your girls,
here they would, but in Georgia, no. It's funny. People here, either in 50-degree weather, they're either super wrapped up or they're like, but it's usually people from other states that have on shorts in California in the cold weather. It's people who like grew up in Colorado.
Right. 50 degrees here is not 50 degrees back in California because because it's so humid here and the way that the wind blows here, even like I once heard somebody who was like from Alaska go, it's colder down there than it is in Alaska at the same temperature just because of the way that we have wind and we have humidity. And like when it's a dry cold, you can deal. But if it's a wet cold, like a damp cold, it cuts. Like the wind will just cut you.
That's what I tell people about up north. Like if you were in LA, 50 degrees in LA is completely different from 50 degrees in San Francisco and Oakland,
San Francisco.
Because it is cold. Like when I was in Corral before we became JMNS, we were at El Camino. We would do these choral conferences every year. So every other year it was in San Francisco. The other years that it's not in San Francisco, it's in San Diego. So usually San Diego we drive, San Francisco we fly. It is always freezing because it's always in November, usually like a week or so before my birthday. So it's like choppy, icy, cold, sometimes rainy. Like it is bad. Like every time I've gone there, because before my 40s, I didn't really wear coats like that because I was always hot. But whenever I went to San Francisco, I would wear capes. I would wear thick coats because it was always so freaking cold. It's cold in the summertime. Like we were in Sacramento one day for a thing with my grandmother, and my mom and I were like, oh, let's drive to San Francisco for the day. And it's 105 in Sacramento. I'm like, oh, I don't really need a big coat. I just had like a hoodie or something. I was like, I'm gonna be good with my life, whatever. Listen to your mothers, no matter how old you are. Okay, guys, I don't really care. I was in my 20s at this time. You should always listen to your parents because I got to San Francisco. I have gone to San Francisco all my life growing up as a kid. We did stuff all the time. But see, I had to wear coats because I was a child and I had to do what as a child was supposed to do. So I'm a big whole grown person. I don't have to wear a jacket. I'm going to be fine. I'm always hot. We're going to be walking around anyway. Girl, please. I got to San Francisco. We were walking on the wharf. I froze my butt off, teeth chattering and everything else. Had to go into one of those expensive tourist shops and get another San Francisco hoodie. Then my mom had a random extra jacket that barely fit me because we are not the same size, and I am smushing that jacket on the top. So all weather is not created equal.
No, it is not. Like when we came to, this was before we moved. I think it was the trip right before we moved that we came out here in like June because John was getting sworn into the bar. And we came out and I froze. We took the red eye and I froze my butt off on the plane. It was so cold. Because it's overnight, right? So it's overnight. You're in the plane. I was against the window, right? So I was just frozen the whole time. And so when we got here, I was like, it was hot when we got here. So I was like, I don't need a sweatshirt while we're here because it is hot and muggy in summer in Savannah. But I was like, I need a sweatshirt for the plane ride home. So I bought a sweatshirt at this little store that's like literally 2 doors down from where my in-laws' condo used to be. And I bought this really cool, like Savannah 1733, because that's the year the city of Savannah was founded, all this kind of stuff. The first colony in the first city in the colony of Georgia. And anyway, bought this sweatshirt, get on the plane. It's not an overnight flight. It's during the day, hotter than blazes. Don't need it. But now I have a nice little sweatshirt that I wear places and all that kind of stuff, but I have too many of them because I'm the same way. Like I don't buy it and then I buy a souvenir with it and then I've just got too many hoodies.
That is hilarious. Yeah, all weather's not created equal. So in this holiday season, people stay warm wherever you are, unless you're in the Caribbean. Enjoy. But it's like LA is so finicky. We've talked about LA weather, right? We've talked about LA, Southern California weather so many times on the show because it's so finicky. Like it was hot last week and then this week is in the 60s and raining. And I'm like, okay. And my mom just told me the other day, this morning, she's like, I don't think mama's going to want to go to church on Sunday. You want to know why? Because it's raining. My grandmother, for whatever reason, in the last like 6 years, maybe, if it's raining, she ain't going. Like she does not like she used to go in the rain, but now she's like, yeah, I'm not doing it. And my mom's preaching Sunday, so she's like kind of freaking out, like, do we leave her home? But because Miss Carolyn was going to pick her up this week and take her, and it's just less stress sometimes when my mom's preaching to have Miss Carolyn take care of her that day because, so Miss Carolyn was picking her up and going to take her out for the day. But if it's raining, Mary Louise ain't going.
It's so funny, like, coming from California, rain is such an imposition for us because it doesn't rain all that often. We're not used to it. You just you're like, oh, I don't want to go out in it.
Like, this is disrespect.
Yeah. But, and then moving to a state where it rains a lot, like there's weather all the time. Like you have to go out in the rain because otherwise, if you don't go out in the rain, like you won't live your life.
You don't get nothing done.
And so it's just been really interesting to have that. And we're so funny because we'll get a storm that will come through and it'll be hot and heavy for 5 minutes. It'll just dump and then it'll move on and you're done and it's clear. In the summer, every afternoon around 3 p.m., that would happen. It would dump rain for 5-10 minutes. The little line would go through and it's fast. You can watch the clouds just book it across the sky. And totally fine. Totally different. So it's little things like that, or in California, rain would be this big event, and here it's whatever, it rains. Yeah, not a big deal.
It's interesting. I hope it's not raining on Tuesday. Yeah, I hope it's not raining Tuesday of next week because our kids are performing at LAX, and so we have an African drum and dance group at our school called LADE, which means Loyola African Drum and Dance Experience, and our kids are amazing. Shout out to Mr. Jelani and Miss Jan. They really. So Jelani's mom and dad started this program when he was in elementary school at our school, and now he teaches there, and
that's so cool.
The drum teacher. And so every year, twice a year, our kids perform at LAX for special things, special events, holidays, whatever. And they're going on Tuesday. But can you imagine carting? So we have about 30 kids in LADE, which is our performance group. So all of our kids go to drumming and dance class, but all of them are not a part of the performance group. But in the performance group, there's about 30 kids. Can you imagine carting 30 kids in the rain on a bus to LAX? Even though we're around the corner from LAX, we still have to cart them on a bus, and only teachers, everybody has to have clearance. So my boss is going, which means I have to stay at the school with the kids who are not going because I'm second in command. So he's going, 2 of the drum teachers plus the dance teacher, Miss Blunt. And that's still 4 teachers with 30 something kids performing at LAX. And they perform in the Tom Bradley terminal, in the international, that's where they perform. In the big, if you ever been in the international part of the LAX, there's this big like aisle,
Rotunda,
I guess. Yeah, and so that's where they perform. And I'm praying it's not raining, because can you imagine having to take in drums, costumes, kids in the rain at the airport during December?
I mean, that's already the 7th circle of hell. LAX is just like,
exactly.
You have to do penance before you drive in.
Right. The bus has to come in, then they have to park and get in the shuttle and then take all the drums. Like, can you imagine doing that in the rain? Huh. And it's funny because all of our teachers are new pretty much this year, except for myself and Mr. Giovanni. So all this stuff that we do in performances, they're like, what did I'm like, you do not know we are a performing arts elementary school, right? Like, it's kind of what we do here as we're getting ready for our Christmas show in 2 weeks, which is, I was telling Jessica before we started recording, I have to train all these teachers on how to help run the show, because the day of, I have no time to say, okay, teachers, you're here, you're there. I have no time. I none whatsoever. I barely have time for the kids because I'm doing so much stuff. And thankfully, the school is actually helping us decorate this year, because usually my boss and I are decorating the stage and the whole auditorium, and the night before the show, we usually don't leave the school till almost 10 o'clock at night. Like, I'm decorating trees and putting up lights and organizing costumes and all of that. So one of the new teachers yesterday, I said, can you help me with costumes? Because it's usually me and 70 something kids, 80 something kids doing costumes together. Plus I'm helping do sound. Plus I'm helping do this. Plus I'm directing the show. Plus. And so she was like, oh no, Miss Joy, I got you. And that's the first time I've ever had a teacher actually volunteer to help with costumes. I normally have parents come help me, but then I have parents who are late and I'm like halfway done with costumes and they're like, where can I go? And I'm like, so
more work instead of a help.
Yeah. So it was like, we had the staff meeting yesterday and I was telling them, like, I'll have a list for whoever is going to be stationed at the left wing, because you're the person that's going to get the kids on the stage. So I'm going to give you the order in which each group stands. Well, and the mansplaining teacher that I talked to you guys about a couple weeks ago, he goes, well, do you have the list now? I said, it's in my handwriting, so I'm going to type it up and I'm going to give it to you guys. Oh, okay. I said, we have 2 weeks before the show. We'll do a full dress rehearsal next Thursday. That's when you'll get the list. He was like, okay, because I'm just thinking in my head, like, I need to know what's happening. I said, that's why we're kind of letting you know now, like, what's going on. So my boss continues, and we're talking about some other stuff, not just the show, some different things coming up in the school year, different things coming up when we get back from winter break and all of that. And there's this thing. So we always want to find ways to encourage our students and not put them down, right? Mm-hmm. We want to always find ways to not say you're bad or whatever, but try to redirect behavior or whatever, right? So we, in our meeting yesterday, we're going over some stuff that the higher ups gave us to look at on, like, classroom management, just some different things that maybe we hadn't thought of. Now, my boss does say, most of you guys do these things, and you do them well. I don't have any issues with how we're doing it. He said, but we can always grow and learn better and do better, which is right? This mansplaining teacher, he's sitting there and you can see steam coming out his ears, right? He's fuming. We're all looking around at each other and we're like, What's wrong with him? We're going to call him Mr. John. What's wrong with Mr. John? And I'm like, shaking my head like, you know. So we're all like laughing, going through the paperwork and going through the notes with the boss. He's not telling us to read the whole thing. He's not telling us we did anything bad. He's not telling us any of that. Just look at it. This is what the company sent him. He has an obligation to show it to us. He pointed out and highlighted some things that were good things that we may not have thought of, or different things we use. And so he says to Mr. John, so you have something you need to say? No, I'm going to hold my tongue. I'm going to bite my tongue because no. And so the other drum teacher, he looks at me. It's like, I'm going to just eat my cupcake because we had cupcakes left over from my birthday. So he's like, I'm going to just eat my cupcakes. And the other teacher, the other female teacher, she looks at me and goes, okay. And then I sent a text to my co-teacher who helps me with the kinder and TK. And it was one of those like memes that had the like eye roll thing. She's like, what's his problem? Why is he in his feelings? Mind you, he hasn't said much yet, but his body language in that statement like said a lot. So my boss uses one of our students as an example from what this paper was talking about. Like, for example, this particular kid, we'll call him Tyrone. Tyrone, blah, blah, blah. Oh, speaking of Tyrone, did you speak to his father like I asked you to? He says this to my boss. Honey, I looks like, oh, it's about to go down right now. My boss said all the way back in his chair. And I said, he said, excuse me, what are you asking? He said, I'm just saying, is it that, when we tell you that we need to talk to these parents about their behavior, do you always talk to them? Do you give them all the information that we said that they do? I was like, oh no. So my co-teacher texted me and said, adios mio. She's Hispanic. She goes, adios mio. I was like, oh my gosh. So my boss said, are you questioning how I handle the parents in regards to what you guys tell me to do and what they've done in your classes? It's not that I'm questioning. It's the higher ups always make us do these things because he has a problem with like the hierarchy of our company. I don't know what the issues are. He came from another school, which I mentioned last time. And so my boss looks at him and says, at this school, I'm the higher up. So you don't have to worry about what the higher ups, the higher ups aren't even concerned about you. Because if anything happens, they come to me. If something happens and it gets back to them, which it won't, they'll come to me, which is why me or Joy deal with the parents, because we are your supervisors. And that way we protect you, because sometimes the parents get offended by some of the things that if we let all the teachers talk to the parents the way he talks to, that would have been bad. Yeah. And so I interjected and I said, no, he says something before I interjected. He goes, at the end of the day, you have to treat every situation differently. We do our best to make sure. He said Joy was standing there when I talked to the child's dad, by the way. I said, yeah, I was sitting there. He told him everything, He and I had also interjected because I had an issue with that kid earlier in the day, but it was only, he has some anger issues that he's dealing with. I said, but you have to look at the circumstances. This child is adopted. He had a very rough life going into his adoption. We're coming back from, we warned all of the staff at the beginning of the school year, the new ones, who are some of our students who have some issues. This particular kid has some issues emotionally. He's smart as a whip. Smart, super smart, sweetheart when he wants to be, but he has some emotional issues. And a lot of that stems from his early childhood. He's only in the second grade, but it stems from his early childhood dealing with his parents and their situations. His sister, who is also his biological sister, is also, of course, adopted by the same two parents. They have two dads. Poppy and Dad are the greatest. They are the type of parents, they'll ask you. You don't have to just say, by the way, such and such had a bad day. Dad will come up to me. how was he today? Because they know. So I explained to him, I said, certain parents just know. You don't have to worry. And I said, but also consider this. We just came back from Thanksgiving break. He spent Thanksgiving with his biological mother. I know you didn't know that, but he spent Thanksgiving with his biological mother. And whereas sister took it as, I got to spend the day with my biological mom, he took it as, yeah, I spent time with her, but I was ready to go back home with my dad's. And also, just note, they only had cereal for Thanksgiving because that's what mom had in her home. So he's dealing with that. And so his tone completely changed. Like, oh, I didn't know that. I said, so you can't treat every child in every situation the same because we don't know what they're going through. And I had a situation where I took a kid's phone this week because her mom, she was cussing out a fifth grader. She's in third grade, cussing out a fifth grader like she was a whole grown person. Had to deal with that situation. And so my boss was like, I had to, in this sense, protect Joy because this parent wanted to go off on me because I took her kid's phone. And then he says, some parents are not going to believe you no matter what because they're going to always believe their kid. Some parents are not in denial about their children. This is where it really took the cake. Then we need to put cameras or something installed in our classroom so that we can show their parents what they're doing. My boss said, absolutely not. He said, 1, it's illegal. 2, these things can go viral some way in a different way that we don't expect and be manipulated. They can do all kinds of things. And he said, at the end of the day, he's like, well, if parents are not going to believe us, I said, some parents are not going to believe us. It's just going to be what it is. It's just the way the cookie crumbles at this point. So that was so later on in the day, all the staff was in my classroom and he was doing something else. Because he gets so focused on what he's doing that he doesn't pay attention to what he should be doing. Like, I had been calling him over the walkie-talkie for like 10 minutes for a kid. And he's like, oh, so now I have to say, hey, Mr. John, do you have such and such? If so, I need you to respond. They're going home for the day. Like, I have to specifically say, I need you to respond because he'll go silent. So all the teachers in my room and we just all look at each other and just start laughing. And I'm like, what? One of the other female teachers goes, I don't know what it is. Like, he needs to just relax. Like, I know we have some hard days and I know some of the kids can be like extra, but he does not help the situation. I'm like, I don't know. Like, it's crazy. We've just been laughing for 2 days at this point because it's just like, what else can we do? And my boss was just like, he handled it with grace because he could have really went there. You know what I'm saying? Like, he handled it with grace. And I was just like, this is a hot flame of a mess. I've never seen a teacher like question him like that. Like, I've questioned him, but we have conversations about it, but I don't question him in front of the other staff. We have meetings.
I mean, if you have questions, there's a way to ask that question in a way that is respectful and like beneficial and helpful. Like, if you need clarity or like, what is the conversation? See, this is the thing that I don't think people realize. Like, 95% of the time, the question itself is not the problem. It's how we ask the question. Like, are we being rude? Are we being disrespectful? Are we asking a question in public that should be asked in private? Are we like, those sorts of things? Like, what's our tone? What's people.
Yeah, because he even said, like, with the whole like video camera thing, like, what's the point of these staff meetings if things aren't going to change? I'm like, it's up to you to change the dynamics of your classes. How are you dealing with it? And he's one of those ones who keeps calling over the walkie to ask my supervisor to come deal with it. If you can't deal with the behavior, then that's on you. It's not on the staff or the kids or even our boss at this point. But he's like, why are we having these staff meetings and things aren't going to change and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, first of all, you're getting paid an hour to be here at work early, whether we change things or not. You got an extra hour on your check. So chill. Like, I don't know. Like, it was a whole thing. But yeah, I told Jess, I was like, let me just tell you on the air because the mansplaining teacher was at it again.
Some people are just
it's crazy, right? Like, you don't anticipate, like, it's like la 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 staff meeting. Okay, let's go over this stuff. All right, blah blah blah. Well, like, what? it threw everybody off because everybody was in a really good mood. We were like, we have a parent that works for the Liquid Death Company, that is a water company. So we're all like drinking our sparkling water or whatever because we have a surplus because he brings us some all the time.
That's awesome.
People eating leftover cupcakes. We're just talking and laughing, whatever. And then all of a sudden, whoosh, dynamic change. Like, it was so weird.
You're like, bro, read the room.
It just changed the whole like temperature of the room. It was so weird. But anyway.
You know,
that was our early digression for today, because now we're just going to be uplifting and exciting and happy because we're going into the new year. We want to go into the new year positive and excited. We have some stuff we want to share with you today and things like that. But yeah, y'all pray for me because mansplaining teacher, I'll be like,
hopefully
in spirit activate.
That little your winter break. Hopefully that helps him have a reset. A little bit of a reset.
I hope so. I really do. And it's crazy because he's really close with one of the other teachers, and they've known him, the two drum teachers, they're all really close, like best friends. Mm-hmm. And even them, they're like, he's like really intense at work. Like, he's not like this. Like, when we're all like, they're like, we've never seen him like this. Like, it's weird. So I'm just like, one day I told Mr. Jelani, I was like, get your boy. Like, I can't. He was like, yo, he's not like this normally. I'm like, but is he? Like, it's deep rooted somewhere.
Right. It's coming out for a reason. I think that there are some people who just don't handle not being in charge well.
Yeah.
It was interesting. I remember when I was interviewing for the job that I currently have, I'd come from an environment where for 20 years I had been
the head honcho,
decision maker. Like, I was in the room where it happened.
Yes.
For lots of things. And I was coming into a position where I was now not going to be in the room where it happened. Like, I was so far down the totem pole that it didn't really matter, and my boss was like, are you going to be okay with that? It's a big adjustment. And I was like, well, to be a good leader, you have to be a good follower. So I'm just going to be practicing that.
Which is true.
And I will not lie, it has been frustrating. There's been a lot of frustrations at times because it's like, I would totally do this differently, but I don't get a say. So I just got to kind of suck it up and do the thing. But
you're like, I just gotta, yeah.
Right. But yeah, maybe he has some control issues. Maybe that's what that is.
I think that's some of it. Because my understanding, his previous location, he went through like 4 new supervisors in a school year, which is a lot. And so he had to pick up slack for things that he was never trained on. And then he wasn't actually trained accurately for classroom management, how to deal with the kids. He wasn't trained because he didn't have anybody to really do it. But the thing is, my boss has been trying to encourage him and has been trying to help him understand, I am here for you. You don't have to take on the load. That's what I'm here for. If I'm not here, Joy's here. And then a part of me also feels like he has a little bit of issues with women, even though he doesn't he may not realize it, because one of his girlfriends told me like she has the mansplaining conversation with him often about certain things. Like, she's like, I told him he does it all the time and he didn't realize, like, until I told him that term, he didn't know what the term was, but he does it all the time. And I'm like,
well, I think a lot of guys, and this is not a defense, I think a lot of guys just don't realize that they do it.
That's true.
Yeah, and it's not like, it's not a defense or like dismissing it, but it's like, I think they just don't realize that they do it because they don't understand how it's portrayed. Like, they genuinely think they're being helpful and don't realize that it's like that they're being helpful presumes that the other person doesn't know, when that's like not a great place to start. So I think the minute that you have the conversation with them, like, hey, maybe from time to time this could come across as X when I don't think you intended to, and I mean, I'm not a man, clearly. But from time to time,
clearly.
I tend to like explain things. And I realize that I explain stuff. And that might not necessarily be needed, So I'm really mindful of that too. I think it's a lot of times when people are there are certain personalities in particular that need to be an expert in something and are really like wired that way. And I think,
that's very true. That's true. I mean, even, you know, like you said, it's hard when you're not in charge of something, when you're used to being in charge. Like, there's things in certain parts of ministry where I'm used to running it and I'm like, I'm not running it anymore. So it's like, do you just shut up or do you mention it? Like, I was an event planner for a while, off and on. And on occasion, I come out of retirement. I told you guys that a while ago. And like, my church is having this like Christmas, the women's ministry is having like a Christmas like brunch thing. And so at the end of Bible study, like 2 weeks ago, it was the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. No, 2 Wednesdays before Thanksgiving. So like 2 weeks ago, they were discussing that the venue was possibly not going to work with the time. And the thing is, they had announced it, I guess, before the venue was solidified. And so I went to our first lady and the trustee that were discussing it, because it's not a large church. So I heard the whole conversation, right? So I said, you know, Dr. C, you know, what we can do is take the chairs out of here, get some tables, and transform the sanctuary, because a lot of churches do that. That way we don't have to spend the money for the venue. You're going to spend the same amount of money for the caterer, no matter where the location is, because the caterer is, I can show you how the floor plan can work, blah, 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 blah. Another trustee comes out of nowhere and was like, nope, not going to happen. Nope. Just like that. And I was like, kind of taken back, like, okay. So I had to like get my face together and my attitude. And I was just like, you know what? It was just a suggestion. I was just letting you know, that it's possible it can happen. I hear another deacon go, I don't want to move these chairs anyway. And I'm like, okay, just a suggestion. So another person in the room was like, well, because she was like, people getting stuff on the floor, and you help vacuum, because sometimes on Sundays, what I've been doing recently as a servant is I help sweep and vacuum some Sundays after church, and I wipe down our pulpit, where he preaches and stuff, is glass. So I get the glass in there and I wipe it down, and I wipe down their side table. It's just, nobody asked me to do it. It's just something I saw that needed to be done, and I started doing it. Okay. And she's like, you clean up in here. You know how it can be sometimes. And nope, we not, nope. Just cut the whole thing off. So, one of the other deacons was like, well, if we put something on the floor, like, she's like, she has some burlap or whatever that she used for another event that can go on the floor, and we can put the tables and stuff on top. She was like, no, we either cancel it or we do it another day, and blah, 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 blah. I was like, okay. I was like, all right. So I just walked out. So the next day, the trustee that was actually talking to the first lady about it, she sends me a text and she said, I want to apologize to you for how that went down yesterday and how you were dismissed. That was not okay. And I know that you were coming from a good place. And I told her, I said, I did feel dismissed, and it did feel like she snapped at me. I said, but what you have to understand is I've been doing events for a long time. I was coming for that perspective, and I had an idea and a way to show you guys how to do it. But if that's not what's needed, then I understand. She said, no. I'm going to talk to her when the time is right, blah, 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 blah. I said, that's fine. I think you should talk to her, because I said, if it was anybody but me, it could have been worse. If it was another member or it could have been worse. So I said, don't talk to her just because it was me, or talk to her because you saw it happen to me. Talk to her because we don't want it to happen to anybody else. Mm-hmm. Like a day or so later, I get a text from my mom saying that that trustee wanted to call me. And I was like, okay, fine. Or wanted me to call her, and sent me her message. So I call, and she's like, hey, Joy, how are you? I said, I'm doing well. How are you? And she goes, I was thinking the other day about, that conversation that happened about the women's brunch. And, I hope you didn't feel like I was dismissing you. I said, I did. Cause she was about to like glaze it over. I said, yeah, I did feel that way. She was like, oh my God, really? And I said, yeah. I said, the way it came off was very, kind of rude and very dismissive. And at the end of the day, not only that, I am an elder in the church, so I do have the right to make a statement about what could be done. I said, and I was trying to save the church money, you know, and she was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. So she was super apologetic, went into this whole thing. And it's hard because at my church, a lot of them have known me since I was a little kid. So the fact that I'm 41 is not a good, like, a concept to their brain sometimes.
Yep.
And though I teach our Bible classes for the ministers with my mom, though I have been the worship pastor for a minute, even though I'm not anymore, though I have been the director of the youth ministry for a while at some point, it doesn't matter. Like, people still think, you know, you're a kid. And I said, I understand that a lot of people don't. I said, I know you don't know a lot of who I am and what I do. I said, but I was an event planner for some years and I come out of retirement. I said, so this is the layout in my brain that would have worked for doing it there. She's like, I'm sorry. I have to stop thinking, like, basically talking about how, like, she's been feeling like ever since we moved into this new location that she's been taking things more seriously, and like that is her home, and she has to realize the church is not her house, and she doesn't have the right to just cut people off like that and tell them no. At the end of the day, it's the pastors do whatever. And it was this whole thing. And then she started, like, complimenting me on how well I teach and how much I've grown and how proud she is and all the things that she has seen me do and all this stuff, which was wonderful. But it was one of those things, like, I had to, like, really look like, okay, I'm not in charge. Like, I get that. So I'm going to just take a beat back and, you know, just chill, because I am used to running things and I am used to be, you know, taking things and saying, you know, even with other women's directors, I have been able to express how things can work because they know my experience. So for that, I was just like, okay, it was a whole thing, but it ended up being a long conversation. We're good. She sent me a birthday present. Like, I did go to Bible study Wednesday because my mom I had to come take care of my grandmother anyway. She sent a gift home with my mom, and I was like, okay, you know, thank you. That was beautiful. She called me on my birthday, you know, so I'm like,
yeah,
okay.
You know,
I saw your face this whole time.
Like, ready to take a step back. Like, when it wasn't received well, you're like, okay, great, no problem. I'm out. I'm out of bounds.
See, old Joy wouldn't have done that.
Right.
Old Joy probably would have commented right then. And I had to realize, like, let me just, go on.
And to be fair, though, like, I look at that and I go, like, the problem wasn't that she had a different opinion. Again, like what we said before, the problem wasn't that the opinion was different. The problem was how it was expressed and the manner in which that was spoken. Like,
it was harsh.
It was like, why are we leading with harshness? I get it. We all have bad days. We all have rough days. We all snap, and like, we have to take accountability when that happens. I am chief among them. Like, I have to apologize to John, like, all the time. Like, I'm sorry, I snapped. Like, today's not the day. Like, you know, we do it. We all do it. It's fine. And I applaud her for sort of reaching out. I mean, making you call her. Anyways.
Right.
Like,
it's like, she could have just called me, but okay.
Yeah. Whatever. But like, I just sit there and I go, you know, my prayer for 2023 is that there is a return to civility.
Yes.
In the church, there is a return to civility in the world,
in the workplace,
I am
just in general. Yeah.
I'm really fortunate that my job, like everybody that works in my department, is just really awesome. Like, I have amazing coworkers. But we've been dealing with a situation with some other departments that I got really offended because they threw me under the bus for no reason. Like, I literally had nothing to do with something, and they just decided that I was going to be the scapegoat for it. And that really bothered me. I mean, this is someone that I've literally known. He was a professor of mine in college, and I'm just like, really, bro? And so, like, I'm just like trying to let it go and all that kind of stuff. But I'm like, why do we need to scapegoat this? Why can't we just say, here was this issue that didn't get addressed, and now we're going to start addressing this issue. And here's how it's going to be going forward. Like, why do we have to assign blame for it? And to be fair, and to be clear, like, not even my department, like, not even something I handle. And so it's, I sit there and I go, I want 2023. Like if I could have a wish for the new year is that there is a return to civility. Like I feel like our world, we have just, after the pandemic, we have like gloves are off. People don't know how to be kind anymore. People don't know how to be non-confrontational. And not that I'm saying confrontation is bad, but confrontation for the sake of confrontation, not necessary. Like we just don't need to be combative. There's I'm tired of politics. If I never see another political ad again in my life, I mean, now that I live in a swing state, I'm so over it. Like I'm
sorry, Georgia has a lot going on right now, and so I know you're really tired of it.
I'm so tired of it. I hate both candidates, all of them. But then again, if you're a politician, chances are I despise you. Like I don't care who you are. At this point,
we're not big on politicians anyway, right?
I don't care what party you are. Like you could be city council, you could be the president. I don't care. I'm just done with all of you.
I think you and I have this heart of like, we understand that government has to happen, but we don't like the way it's run on either side necessarily.
Yeah.
There's some things that, and we've talked about that on the show before. And I feel like in the sense of civility, as you're saying, it needs to start somewhere in there, because I feel like it's just WWE and the government half the time. And I'm just like, this is not what it's supposed to be. Like it's stressful. It causes migraines. It's like,
well,
I was so happy when the mayoral race was over in Los Angeles. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
If I didn't see another Rick Caruso ad,
for real, if I never see another Herschel Walker, Raphael Warnock ad, it will be too soon. Like I'm done. And like I
honestly can't stand Herschel Walker.
I can't stop. Genuinely, I despise them both. They're both like the fact that Warnock uses Reverend in front of his name. I don't.
Well, he was
like
a pastor before. Well, he was a pastor before all of this happened, but before he became a senator. But I know what you're saying.
Yeah. Like, please do not trade on the fact that you are a pastor in order to get votes. And that's what it feels like to me. Like in a pastoral capacity, I do not like. I don't like. I disagree with both of them. Put it this way, it is disgusting. But all that to say, like we feel like it's a new thing, and I'm sorry,
but it's not.
Hamilton at this point, and we know that politics has always been dirty. It's
always been dirty. Like, you're right. It's just the dirtiness is just so more out there now.
Well, because
yes, we have all seen Hamilton, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
I want our world to be, I want people to be kind and empathetic. Like I want our kids to be innocent. I want our, I want a compassionate world that we live in where people go out of their way for other people. Not because it's, that's what my hope is for 23.
Yeah.
I mean, and I say it's my hope. I'm not very hopeful that it'll be that way. But if I could write,
which is so sad,
world, it would be people who do what they say they're going to do, who follow through, who take responsibility for their actions, who give other people a break from time to time, like just you know, 1 Corinthians 13, right? Like. Who a record of wrong, who love, and that's that's my big like pie in the sky dream.
But
hashtag
prayer.
Probably not.
That, I mean, so what would be the more, even though that is your wish, what is your more, not saying that this is intangible, because though I know you're like, it's a wish, but not going to happen. But what would be another more tangible thing you would want to see in 2023, whether it's personal, worldwide, church-wide, whatever it is?
On a personal level, I would love to see God show me the next thing. Lead me to the next thing. I feel like, sort of professionally, I have been in a holding pattern for 3 years now. And, I don't, I have a lot of dreams. We're working on a lot of projects. There's a lot of stuff that I would like for the two of us, that we have goals and things that we want to achieve. I mean, in a perfect world, those things would come to fruition and they would sustain financially, you and I both. Or I would win the lottery. That'd be the other thing. I'd be super important on that. Because if I win the lottery, no more problems. But that God wants us to trust him or something. So
yeah, that's the whole thing,
I don't know but I think I'm looking for God to reveal whatever those next steps are, whatever the next thing is. Because like I said, holding pattern for almost coming up on 3 years now, professionally. And I'm like, okay, Lord, there have been a few, and I don't know that I've even necessarily told you any of this, but there have been a few carrots dangled in front of me this last year when it comes to professional stuff. And then radio silence, radio silence. And now I read the room and I go, okay, no, that's not going to be a thing. The radio silence is a thing. And I'm like, okay, Lord, that's fine. But what is the next thing? So that's for me. How about you?
I don't know. I know my heart's desire is to go full force into everything that we have going on. And we're going to share some of that before this episode ends. If I had my heart's desire for 2023, it would be this being my last year teaching full-time and full-time going into ministry with you, working on our stuff, doing our business, getting sponsors for our podcast and the other people that we'll be working with, really taking the time to do that. But that is my desire. That is a desire that can happen. I just have to, I would like to hear God and make sure that, we're going in the right direction. And make sure that if I do quit my job, that this is what God really wants, or I keep working until we keep building and then quit later, so
what the timing is.
Right. Whatever the timing is. And I also want to actively, work on my weight again. COVID pounds hit me. And again, it's not a confidence thing. It's not I'm not beautiful thing. It's a health thing for me. Just because some of my numbers have been a little higher than they need to be. And so I want to get back actively. I had a little bit of a scare the other night and I hadn't even told you. I noticed I was going to the bathroom a lot and I checked my sugar and it was at 228, which is high. Now it's not 400 high, but
it's high.
My sugar hasn't been that high in a really long time because I'm generally very careful. But I've just kind of been, there's been some emotional eating happening in the last month because, and that's something I have to give to God, because the reason I am drawn to that is because of the stress that's going on with my dad. And that's, if I can give him to God and give his health condition to God, I can take a step back from some of the things. And so, I would like to actively work on, I know a lot of my weight gain also happened because my knee, but it's getting stronger and I'm walking without the cane a little bit more, trying to be a little more independent without the stick. I don't do it often in public, but I try to. The more I do it, the better I'll get at it, and not baby that knee. So with that, start walking again. I did start walking this summer. Our sisters in ministry did a walking club, and though I didn't walk as long as everyone else, I would do like a half a mile to a mile. I think I worked myself up to a mile. We were going twice a week, but now it's kind of just too cold to go out into the park
Yeah.
right now. And it gets dark really early.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's a lot of unhoused in the park right now. And so, not saying that I'm fearful of them or anything. It's just, not wise right now to go out.
As a woman,
at the time we were going.
Think extra.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Not, especially because we were going at like 6 o'clock where, whereas in the summer and the spring, that's a little different because 6 o'clock is still bright.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Outside 6:30. So, I did start doing that. So I'm going to start doing something again to get myself together, unfortunately, because of certain foods I can't eat. A lot of the healthy stuff I can't eat because of my stomach problems, which is so crazy.
I know.
It's weird. All the enriched like white and sugars and things, I can totally eat fine without any problem. But give me like a salad or extra greens or a lot of the dairy or wheat even. I can't have brown rice. I can't have wheat bread. I can't have any of that stuff. So the healthier options, a lot of things I can't have.
Right.
Even some of the vegan things, because a lot of them have soy. And soy is not good for people with IBS. So I am just like, okay. So it's just a balance. I've done it before. I've lost weight before. I had originally thought about doing the surgery, and just the more I think about it now, I'm like, I don't want to do it. Though I know some people have been very successful, but I also know some people who've had it and it's not.
Well, and
it's hurt them in the long run.
Yeah.
And I have other
health issues with your stomach and things like that I don't know. I just don't feel like that'd be a good choice.
Yeah. And it wasn't, I don't think it's funny because I was so gung-ho about it right before the pandemic, and I had gone through all the little steps. I had met with the dietitian. I was like, I'm going to do it. But the longer the pandemic went and the longer the surgery date got pushed, I was just like, yeah, no. And it wasn't a lazy thing. It was just like, I feel like God was just like, don't rush this, do something else. And I'm like, I've lost weight so many times on my own before. I can do it. It's a matter of drinking more water. It's a matter of cutting out certain things. I already don't really drink soda other than ginger ale, and that's mainly for my stomach.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Less sugar in my coffee, like those things. So those are the things. That's like a tangible thing that I want to work on. Yeah. That's like a tangible thing I want to work on, and my desire for what we have. And, if I'm throwing out desires, I would really like to meet someone in 2023. Amen. Really meet a man that the person I've been praying for. Like, I would really, really, really like that. I know y'all are tired of hearing me say that, but I would like to. I would like to. I would like to be more present
for her. So if you've got any prospects for her, you send a photo and resume quality to me at Jess at podcast at joyandjess.com.
I would like to also be more present for my friends and family. I would like to be more present and more active in all of my friends and family's life. Those who are understanding who's really for you and who's not. And I think I'm pretty clear on that. But appreciating the ones who stay, and really being there. Like one of the hardest parts of not being there for Jess, and Jess and I talked about this earlier in the week, next week, is that I never want her to feel like I don't want to show up for her, because not just because she's my friend and not just because she's my partner, but Jessica prays me through every day, not just the business stuff, but she helps me get through a lot of my days, especially this year. I lost Jill at the beginning of the year. There's other things that have happened. I've been sick off and on. She's had stuff going on, and we pray each other through. And I never want anybody in my life to feel like I don't want to show up for them. So when there's an opportunity that I can be there, and technically I could be there, it's just with everything going on, even her husband was just like, Joy, it's not good right now. Like, we understand.
And I would so much rather you be where you are. Like, even I know you love me. That's fine. That's great. You need to be where you are. Like, that's important right now. And my whole thing is, for me, like, and we're both the same way in this. Like, we don't want to be in imposition. We don't. It's hard when people do big things. Like, we feel like we need to be there and to show up in the same way. And I totally get it. But like, this is an extenuating circumstance. You need to be right where you are, and that's okay. I know you love me. It's fine.
I do.
Figure that another time.
Yeah, that's just my heart, just in general. Like, if I could, I wish I had more frequent flyer miles. I'd travel to see you and Tramika more often. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm working on those frequent flyer miles.
Tell me about it. I know. I'm like,
man. Also in 2023, we need the plane tickets to go down.
Amen and amen. Amen. Can we get some inflation lowered and
yeah, let the gas keep going down and not go back up. Let's while our hopes and dreams for the new year, let's get some things and let the economy make sense. Like, let's get some raises that make sense with the economy. Like, let's inflation happened and then checks didn't go up. You know what I'm saying? So people are having their same pay, their same whatever, and their bills and their gas and their groceries. There was statistically, and I think we talked about this before, it was cheaper for people to go out on Thanksgiving than it was for them to buy groceries and cook a meal for a large family.
Oh, I believe it. I spread out my buying for Thanksgiving over like as many weeks as I could. Like, I pre-bought our turkey and I was mad because we bought the turkey and then it went on sale. I was so annoyed. But like, it was expensive. Gosh. It was really expensive for a turkey this year. It was
right. Yeah. Well, Uncle Leon bought the turkey. I don't know how much he paid for it, but so we did our family Thanksgiving on Friday instead of Thursday this year. And I think I mentioned we were going to do that before on the last episode. But so that Thursday, me, mom, and grandma, we went to Benihana's and had a show and dinner and enjoyed ourselves. And then, watched The Masked Singer when we got home and got back to my uncle's house. I brined a turkey for the first time ever in my life by myself. And I was so scared I was going to drop it and the dogs were going to attack it and get salmonella, because I had to the
story. Scott, the dogs come in.
Yes, that's literally because, okay, so my uncle was like, so while you're house sitting and watching the dogs, I need you to brine the turkey 24 hours before Thanksgiving. And I was like, I've never brined a turkey. Like, I've done a lot of things with food, but I've never brined a turkey. Okay. And I'm thinking it's like a 12-pound turkey. Like, it was like a 16-pound turkey. And I was just like, okay, so it was in the outside garage fridge. I bring it in the house. I do the whole thing. I'm like, well, what recipe do you want me to use? Oh, find one. So I just found one on the internet. Thanks, Gabby, because you helped me find brine the turkey. Shout out to Cooking with Gabby on the internet. I don't know you, but you helped me. And so I have this turkey and I have these dogs because every time I'm in the kitchen, they're like, what's she gonna drop? Because like, what's up? You know what I'm saying? So especially fat girl Phoebe, like, that's my girl. Like, she's like, kitchen, food, let's go. Like, that's her thing, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I don't know how to do this. So he's like, I'm going to show you the brining contraption before you leave. The brining contraption was a small black trash can with a Home Depot bucket inside of it. The turkey goes inside the Home Depot bucket, and then the Home Depot bucket goes inside the trash can. Then you put ice all around it, and then you close the top and leave it outside. Okay. That was the instructions I got. My mom was like, you need to take that in the garage. I'm not sliding that turkey through the house to the garage. Like, this is where your brother told me to put it, and that's where I'm putting it. Okay? That's what's going to happen. That's where we do it. And so I did it, and it stayed out there, and then he was supposed to deep fry it. Remember, I told you guys the deep fry story. He decides the morning of, we're going to spatchcock this turkey and roast it. I'm like, it's 11 o'clock in the morning on Friday. Like, we gonna roast it now. He has to go to the store to get some all-purpose flour and something else for my mom for the mac and cheese. And I needed shrimp and we needed bacon for the collard greens because he didn't get any of that. So my aunt's like, well, we're gonna start the turkey because he's gonna be gone for a minute. So me and my aunt Rebecca are like gloving it up. Got the scissors, a rolling pin, and a knife, right? We're cutting through this turkey. We did it. Shout out to my Aunt Rebecca. She was a rock star. We did it. We spatched out. I have a picture. We spatchcocked this turkey. We pulled the whole backbone out in the spine. We did the whole thing. Then we made a compound butter thing and stuffed it under the thing, put it on the skin. Then she injects the turkey with butter. And then we It was one of the juiciest turkeys I've ever had in my entire life.
And an injection and butter under the skin. That's how you do it.
Yes. So that was my turkey experience. They're like, now you're going to have to be the brine master for all the turkeys. And like, you're going to have to come Christmas Eve. I'm not brining another turkey for Christmas. Okay. You guys are going to be in charge. I'm not doing it. I am not doing that. It was cool though. It was interesting. I had gotten the pot though that I made the brine in. A little was too small, so then I had to transfer it to a big pot. And then the brine took a long time to cool. And then I had to like take 3 bags of ice to like put it on top of this bucket and then like make sure this trash can lid was on super tight. It was on so tight I couldn't get it off the next morning. Okay. It was so that was my brine story.
We got a turkey, like I said, we got it ahead of time. And then I was smart. Saturday night, we took it out of the freezer and I put it in our outside. We ended up with the outside fridge. So I put it out there to thaw. By Tuesday night, it was still rock hard.
Oh, really?
It had been thawing for 72 hours in the fridge and it was like an ice block still. And John and I both started to panic. I'm like, we've got people coming over. I got to get this turkey. So, we ended up Wednesday, partially thawing it in the sink. Jenny, you're not supposed to do this, but I was like, we're going to I have no other options. We partially thawed it in the sink enough to where once we got it started, then Thursday morning, like I put it back in the fridge and it started to get icy again. I don't know what's going on with our fridge. Our fridge was supposed to be at 40 degrees. Like, I don't know.
And it started to get icy again? Wow.
Yeah. I was like, I don't know. This fridge, we inherited it. It was the fridge that was in my parents' house when they bought it, but my parents had a fridge. So they gave us that fridge. So I don't know if it's like just stupid cold or what the deal was with that, but whatever. So but then it's like so friggin' cold that I'm thinking that's still frozen on the inside. So then I have to go through this whole rigmarole. I must have messed with the temperature on this bird so many times. It was ridiculous.
Oh no.
Turkey got cooked. It was nice and juicy. It was great. The skin was a little dried out, but that's what God made gravy for. So we survived.
We totally digress, but the whole point was groceries need to go down too, or the checks need to come up because groceries are high right now. Like I bought like 5 things the other day and it was like $70. And like, why is it so much?
My grocery bill, and I used to be able to get John and I with grocery delivery during the pandemic, grocery delivery on Instacart. I could get 2 of us for a week for like $80.
Yeah. Now.
And that was buying smart, but like decent things. And now it's like, I can't get out of there for less than 120. And I'm not buying stuff. Like I'm trying to buy.
And it's just the 2 of you.
Meal plans so that I can use the same proteins over, like all this kind of stuff. So I can buy in bulk. And it's like, it still just doesn't work. It's frustrating. I'm like, yeah.
It is.
Rent is
so in 2023, we need the groceries either to go down or the checks to go up. Or both. That would be nice. That's what we need. Also in 2023, we have something really exciting happening.
Yes.
Actually 2 exciting things, but which one do you want to talk about first?
Let's talk about Divine Detour.
Let's do it.
Let's talk about Divine Detour.
You see this smile on my face? I'm so excited. Okay.
So we are just trying to figure out like what is it that this is supposed to be. Like we have a lot of different irons in the fire. Joy is an author. She is a speaker. I'm a speaker. I've edited her books. We've done social media. We do podcasting. We do all this stuff. And we're trying to figure out a way to make this like, what does all this mean? What's the umbrella that this all lives under? So we are excited to announce Divine Detour Media. Divine Detour Media, the name sort of comes from this idea that where we both thought we were going to go in our lives is not where we've ended up. And we think that the detour that God has kind of put us on is from God. And so we're okay to go wherever he detours us to, that the detour is fine, that's what if God's in the detour, then the detour is a good detour. So we're excited about Divine Detour Media.
We are so excited.
And underneath of that is Divine Detour Podcasting. And we are really excited. You have heard already by the time this episode airs, you will have heard from our first launching partner with Divine Detour Podcasting. And that is The Storied In Between with Autumn Buzzle. Autumn. She's not Buzzle anymore.
Uh-oh. She's not Buzzle anymore. I mean, she'll always be a Buzzle.
Autumn Champon. She is just incredible. We love her so much.
Yes.
We have been friends with her for so long. And we are so excited what God has done in her life and talk about the detours of her life and where she is now versus where she started and what God has done for her. And so we're working on some other podcasts that are going to be a part of this network that we're putting together. So if you have any suggestions for that, or if you have a podcast that you were starting, we're going to be offering just support for podcasters, getting started. People, it's easy to get started, but it's intimidating. And so we want to offer support and guidance and all that kind of good stuff. We're also offering publishing services for authors. So if you have ever wanted to write a book or you've already written the book and you just want help on getting it published, we are sort of a build your own, choose your own adventure support for that for author services. We do events and conferences and speaking, and we're going to have, again, we have a lot of things that we want to open up with this. So at some point there's going to be a speakers bureau and all that kind of stuff, but we're really excited about the idea of what this is going to be. We hope and pray that God just pours out blessing on this, because really our hope and our prayer is, we know that there are so many voices, especially in Christendom, that don't have opportunities to be heard. And they're really important voices and really important perspectives. And it's, to us, I think we feel like it's really vital that we help those voices get elevated and heard. And so the whole point behind Divine Detour is to elevate more voices and unique voices in Christianity, in particular. Now, this will help everybody, we're fine with that, but our heart is especially for those who are in the faith space. Just because, if God has given us skills, we need to use it to build his kingdom and to build that. And, that's kind of where we're at.
Our heart's desire.
Look for more from Divine Detour Media coming in 2023, God willing. We're working on a website. We're working on some other fun stuff. So
yes. Exciting. And also in 2023, under Divine Detour, we will be finally having our conference crafted. It's our women's conference. It's going to be one day on March 18th, 2023. Right now, we are looking at it to be in person in California. So if you are in California, in the Los Angeles, Orange County, Long Beach areas, we'll have more information on where you can join us and register. We'll be putting out registration in January, towards the end of January, putting out registration and different things like that, and how you can be a part. If you want to volunteer and be a hostess or something like that, let us know. We'll totally open that up to you. We have some awesome dynamic speakers that will be a part of this. Autumn Achiampong from Ghana, Africa will be there. She'll be there virtually for this one. But we'll have my mom, Elder Candace Simpson. We have, oh my gosh, my brain.
Christy
MFT. Christy.
Yes.
Dealing with mental health. Yes, we have Ricky Downing, who is a stylist, and she's going to talk about how to feel good with what's in your closet already, and how to, maintain and feel great all the time. And we're going to talk about health. We're going to talk about confidence. We're going to do it all. It's going to be great, because the idea is crafted. We are crafted. We are made in his image, and he is molding us, and he has sculpted us to be these masterpieces that he's created. And we just want to give you some tools and some encouragement to keep going, whether you're in ministry, whether you're a lay person, whether you work in the children's department, no matter what it is that you do, if you want to be a part, we want to empower you. We want to encourage you. So Crafted will be coming March 18th, and I'm so excited. And there'll be more after that. And God willing, as Jessica says all the time, God willing, it will be, I believe, I have such big eyes. You know how when you have, you go to the buffet and you see all these things, right? And you get everything on your plate and your eyes are bigger than your stomach. But at this point, I just feel like my eyes and my faith are so big, and I see what God can do in this situation. And I'm just so excited because I believe that some lives will be changed, even ours, through what God has gifted us to do. So we'll have more information for that coming out, and we hope that you'll be a part. And we will have virtual as well for those who want to stream live and you're not in California. And eventually, if you want us to come to your church and you're in a different state, we will do that. We will come. Yes. We will put the conference together with you and your ministry. We'll come speak, whatever it is that you want us to do. That's what our speaker bureau and events planning is all about in Divine Detour. So we are excited, obviously.
I always keep in mind, you talk about me saying God willing, and there's that passage in scripture where Paul's like, you make plans and then you don't leave them up to the Lord and they don't succeed. And so my whole thing is, we're going to make these plans, but they are in the Lord's hands, and God willing. Absolutely. As my grandma would have said, God willing and the creek don't rise.
Yes.
We're going to, we're going to see what he's going to do with it. And, we'll go from there. So much of my life, I think, and I think Joy would say the same, is just this willingness to have open hands with whatever it is that God has blessed us with.
Yeah.
And if he wants to use it, great. And if now's not the right time or it's not the thing he wants to use, that's okay too. Pray for us in this next year as we try to move forward with these plans that we have. We're going to commit them to the Lord, and he's going to do with them what he will. And if you are interested, like Joy said, in hosting a Crafted Women's Conference in your church, we take seriously that passage in Ephesians. It's our theme verse where he says that you were crafted by God to do good works. And so that's what the heart of this conference is. That's our theme for this year. And so if you have a church that you're looking at hosting and you want some assistance in hosting your own women's conference, give us a call. Let us know. You can reach us at Jess at Divine Detour Media or Joy at Divine Detour Media. Or info at Divine Detour Media. We got lots of stuff, and I'm going to stop rambling because I'm so excited.
Yes. But and coming soon on the website, we'll have a link to the Crafted website where you'll be able to register and get to know our speakers, get to their bios, and check out their websites as well.
Absolutely. Hey, so in the season of self-promotion, find us on Instagram at We Digress with Joy_Jess.
Yes.
You can respond to this podcast. If you've got thoughts, if you've got hopes and dreams for 2023, we would love to hear them. You can leave a voice memo for us at joyandjess.com. You can send us an email at podcast@joyandjess.com. You can get in touch with us on Facebook. We got lots of ways. We would love to hear from you and love to have you be a part of the conversation that we're having here. Leave a comment on YouTube if you're watching us there. Hi.
Hi, y'all.
All that kind of stuff. And more than anything, our prayer for you in 2023 is that God pours out the nearness of his presence for you,
Absolutely.
That you know him, that you know what it's like to be loved by him and to have that confidence that comes from knowing that you are a child of the King of all creation. So that's our prayer for you in 2023. May
have
God's
a wonderful
richest
Christmas.
blessings be yours, and we'll see you in a few weeks.
Happy New Year, guys. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening. Check us out on the web at joyandjess.com. That's JoyandJess.com. We'll see you next week.